welcome or welcome back. Today's activation reading is your regulation attunement with the second pillar of wealth, stability, because sustainable luck flows through a system that can safely hold opportunity. So some questions for reflection before we get into the reading are: when opportunity appears, does your nervous system expand or does it destabilize? And what internal patterns, especially from childhood, could cause you to potentially have any mistrust towards good fortune? And how can your life shift if luck felt safer to sustain than it does now? So I shuffled some cards. Lots came out. First card, coming together, harmony in the heavens, resolution. So you've come to an end of a cycle and you're finally understanding why within yourself certain patterns or behaviors that you had were happening for so long, and you've released that energy. You've released those thought patterns, those behaviors that were connected to the parts of yourself that are not going with you, to the parts of you that didn't feel lucky, didn't feel loved, didn't feel abundant. Those parts of you are gone now because of the internal shifts that you made. You remember them and they were part of who you are, but it's a version of you that is gone because you decided to rely on your intuition, your internal wisdom, your guided wisdom, cosmic ordering, divine alchemy, conscious manifesting. So you are super intentional about your goals, about what you're calling in. And because you've been so intentional, that has allowed you to make moves and take steps and think in ways that the average person does not. And that's why you're going to be more successful, is because you always raise your standard, you always raise the bar. Anchoring, grounded action, Isis energy. So this card in this deck represents what's called the Earth Star Chakra, and Goddess Isis represents the underworld in her own right. And the Earth Star Chakra exists underneath the feet, and it's what grounds us to Earth. So this card represents what it is about your spiritual purpose that grounds you into the ability to have a passionate, successful existence while you're here on Earth, right? Because this is in its own way a descent through the underworld, and because you have to constantly go through that descent to the underworld within the self. And in its own way, that's what this season of winter is. That's what it's for. That's what it represents, for us to go within, go into those depths, go into those shadows. And then when springtime comes around and all this new light and abundant energy makes its way into our life, those things that were in the shadows aren't able to hold you back. They don't have power anymore. They don't have power over you anymore because you have alchemized them and turned that into your own internal power. So that's where the alchemy part comes in. Energetic shift, new information, end of a cycle. So this ending of the year of the snake, going into the year of the fire horse, whether you believe in or follow Chinese astrology or not, energetically, this event represents the shift of the deep dive into the self that we take during the winter season and the emergence of spring, that fire and water energy that leads to momentum and creation that allows the season of spring to flourish on the earth. Same thing with your ideas, the seeds that you've sown, the ideas that you've planted. Retreating to recharge, trusting the process, dharma. So relaxing to receive is what that means. You don't have to overdo it. You don't have to constantly be doing something, make sure that you are taking time to implement balance by scheduling intentional rest. Make sure you take time to just not have to do anything, to take care of yourself, to relax, to pour back into your own cup, because this is wisdom, and the ability to sit in that energy and be willing to relax and receive because you have that knowledge of what's coming for you. That also ties into your dharma. So dharma, we know and talk about karma a lot, right? And we typically paint it as this negative thing, this negative entity in modern culture that happens very often, but karma is just a balancing of the scales. And what happens once those scales have been balanced? Dharma. So one has aligned and stepped into their soul's purpose in their journey here on this earth, and that internal discovery is what brings light to the shadow, is what allows those energies to be alchemized into internal power. And that perception shift, that perspective, that internal alchemy, that alignment, that is what truly calls in success. So we create our own luck, and the only way to sustain that type of energy in your field, to safely hold it, is to know that it is, luck is a symbol of a desire or a manifestation or a particular energy that you're trying to call into your life. And coming into alignment with that identity is what allows you to safely hold that opportunity. And even when we make that identity shift, we have to continue to be mindful of that internal monologue, because we're going to make many internal shifts, but part of Dharma, that soul evolution, that soul process, is understanding that the more you master, the more you're a student, the more there's something to learn, and there will always be something to learn. And embracing that and having a willingness to move through it and flow through it allows that frequency of luck to dance freely in your life. God, I just love the imagery on these cards. That's one of my favorite things about this deck, is just looking at it. I feel like when I'm reading the card, like I'm in the energy of the picture that's on the card. It's amazing. So base chakra, strength and security, laying foundation. So you've been internally laying groundwork, laying foundation. So this is what people see, right? They see a tree above ground. It's strong, it's full of life, it blooms, it blossoms, does all the beautiful things, but deep down inside, it's even more beautiful. You've been refining this internal palace that is you, that is your energy, that is what you've been calling in, and you have the internal state to hold it and keep it. It's not going to go anywhere, which is why it can continue to feel safe for you. Karmic release, healing the lineage, boundaries. So having moved in this lifetime from a state of balancing karma to aligning with your soul's dharma, that release has not only healed you, but you see this DNA strand, it's healed the people that have come before you and the people that will now come after you. It has laid groundwork for them. And the people who came before you now have a reason to ascend and evolve and to step up their game if they weren't the best parent or the best grandparent or the best person or whatever it is, because we all have a map of what we're meant to do and what we're meant to learn, because the soul desires to evolve in this way. Boundaries. Make sure, now that you've learned to have strong boundaries to maintain this internal identity that you've created for yourself, don't ever let anyone slip on your boundaries, because if you allow them to do it once, they're going to think that they can push it forever, and then you're going to end up having to cut them off, the energy, the person, whatever it may be. So just be mindful once you are holding this energy and as it manifests into physical reality, that not only you stay the same regulated person, but you have even stronger boundaries than you do right now to ensure that you're keeping what is meant for you. Everyone else is on their own journey and they will get what they need in their own time. You earned this for you. Spiritual acceleration, progress, technology. I feel like spirituality has a lot to do with your work, your business, your soul's passion, your dharma, like what you're meant to be doing or want to be doing or are doing already. And that simultaneously using technology to assist you, make digital tools, whatever it may be, is a really big part of what you're building and what you're creating for yourself. And remember, technology, AI, it is a tool for you. It cannot replace human intuition and consciousness, but when the two work together, there's a lot of momentum and a lot of productivity that can come from it. Solar plexus chakra, inner fire, willpower. So spring equinox coming up at the time of this reading as the sun gains and maintains equilibrium and momentum as we transition into spring and then eventually into summer. Crazy to think about already this year, right? But it's happening. Think as the sun grows, so does your inner fire, so does your willpower, so does your desire to move forward and to flow with the momentum that you've created for this year and for yourself. Align with purpose, crossroads, no wrong path. I'll say that again, no wrong path. So each of these leads to the same place, it's just different journeys. So just pick which route you want to take for this lifetime because you are writing your own story. And there's no wrong way you can go. As long as you're following your heart and your soul and your purpose, there's no wrong turn, there's no wrong path, there's no wrong journey. You're good to go. Spirit guides, confirmation, great lessons. So I feel like you have been getting a lot of messages, confirmations, symbols, just in general, that you're on the right path and that you're on the right track and that this reading is a continuation of that. Great lessons. Don't forget all the things that you learned that brought you to this point. Maintain that awareness and it will ensure that there's no mistakes in the future moving forward, that you're continue to be aligned, you continue to stay regulated, continue to integrate your lessons, and never stop growing, never stop pushing, never stop moving. Embracing sensitivity, uniqueness, living with grace. Living with grace. Grace is moving through things with the attitude and the demeanor on the outside, but likewise the internal knowing that even if you cannot control what happens to you or for you, you can always control yourself and the perception that you have over what your experience is. And that perception will have an effect on what manifests in the future because of the experience that you just had. Embraced by light, mission uncovered, don't give up. So remember everything that you've learned, everything that you've integrated, and as long as you continue to do that and you continue to move forward the way you have been at this point in time, especially the past year, more recent couple years, as long as you continue with those integrations and remember those lessons, now that you know your mission, nothing can stop you and you can't give up, because now that you have aligned yourself with the frequency that you've been desiring, it was just inevitable. And ensure you stay as stable as possible so that this energy continues to circulate and continues to flow. Infinite potential manifestation vortex. So you can literally create any life you want for yourself. It's yours. It's your story, your journey. It's for you, and the only person who's in control of that is you. So don't forget, you truly create your own luck by the way you internally calibrate yourself.